Hi guys, welcome to a brand new episode of AB and the Films.
I got it? You kidding me? Way to go, Monero!
It's 5 years later, but the fever still burns. Staying alive.
You know, I was going to review this film a year ago, actually, and I don't know why I didn't do it a year ago, but I got a little bit of a story, lots of stories, so I'll try to keep this as short as possible, but you know, if anything we know about this show, I like to ramble a lot. So, I want to talk about the movie Staying Alive. I have it on DVD. I bought it about a month ago. I finally watched it again early this morning, and you know, I gotta talk, because I got a little bit of a history, couple stories about this movie. First of all, if you guys don't know, when I was about 12, 13 years old, so this is back in 2005, 2006, I loved the movie Saturday Night Fever. I mean, I loved the movie. And, you know, when you're 13, I mean, like, okay, I think we've all seen rated R movies by the time we hit age 13, but, you know, as far as Fever goes, you know, I remember hearing this is one of the best films of the 70s, it's one of the best movies that John Travolta ever did, it's the film he's famous for. He's famous for a couple other films that he's done, but this one made him a superstar in the 70s. Yeah, Welcome Back, Kotter kind of introduced him, and he had a small role in the movie Carrie, but Saturday Night Fever, he was on top of the world when that movie came out back in 77. So I saw the movie when I was 12, 13, and I loved it. I mean, I got into the Bee Gees after watching that movie. I got into John Travolta's career. I actually ended up watching the movie Grease after that, and Grease was a bit of a letdown when I originally saw it, because I thought it was going to be like Saturday Night Fever, almost like a sequel, because Grease came out the year after Fever. Travolta's the lead, Robert Stigwood produced it, and Barry Gibb wrote the song Grease. Okay, so it kind of felt like this was going to be like Fever, and it didn't turn out to be, because Grease is nothing like Saturday Night Fever. So I was a bit disappointed by Grease when I originally saw it, because I thought it was going to be like Saturday Night Fever. So I'm loving the movie. I used to actually dance to the sequence of You Should Be Dancing. When he does that dance number to that Bee Gees song on the dance floor, I did that at my 7th and 8th grade dances. No, I am not ashamed at all. Not at all. I remember going up to the DJ and I would ask the DJ, hey, do you have You Should Be Dancing by the Bee Gees? Can you play that at some point tonight? And I would get in the middle of the dance floor and I would imitate John Travolta. Like, all the moves that you see him do, 90% of them I could do, but not all of them. And I remember doing them, and all my classmates, first of all, I'm a very quiet guy, so they couldn't believe I was doing that. They weren't sure what I was doing. I knew the adults knew what I was doing, but, you know, they were my age. You know, we were kids at the time. So yeah, so I'm a huge fan of Saturday Night Fever. Love that film. It's in my top 20 favorite films list that I did on this show back in season 1. Love the movie. I never knew there was a sequel to Saturday Night Fever. Never knew that up until around, I want to say, 2009, 2010. So by the time I found out there was a sequel, I'm like, well, I gotta see this. I gotta see what this is. So, Staying Alive. So, I was gonna watch it, and then I found out this movie got 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. People have said that this is one of the worst films John Travolta ever did, and he did a lot of bad movies in the 80s, but this was one of the worst movies he ever did. It has nothing to do with Saturday Night Fever. It's a complete letdown. And then I saw the trailer on YouTube. Now this is about 10 years ago. I saw the trailer on YouTube, and I saw it, and I'm like, ooh, this doesn't look like Fever. There's no disco music. Well, I know it was the 80s, but I'm like, there's no disco music. The Bee Gees aren't a part of this. It doesn't feel like Fever. Nah, forget it. So 9 years later, in 2019, last year, a friend of mine, he has a theater in his home. He has a home theater, and this was one of the movies he was going to show. And he said, "You want to come see it?" And I said, "You know, let me give it a try, because I grew up with Saturday Night Fever," and I'm like, well, maybe it won't be that bad. Because he kept telling me, he's like, no, don't listen to Rotten Tomatoes. It's not as bad as they're making it out to be. It's not that bad. And I remember asking him a couple questions about it before we started playing the movie. I'm like, well, okay, it was made 6 years after Fever. John Travolta's back. Are any of the other cast members back? He goes, well, the mom is back. And I said, oh, okay, so he doesn't end up with Stephanie or any of his friends are in this? He goes, nope, none of them are in this. They're not even mentioned in this movie. I said, okay, well, I take it the Bee Gees aren't back. And he goes, oh, yeah, they're back. The Bee Gees wrote some songs for this. I was like, what? Yeah. And I had no idea. So once I was assured that the Bee Gees came back, I said, okay, that was a huge part of what made Saturday Night Fever a great movie. I gotta watch this now. So we watched the movie, and after it was done, you know, 0% on Rotten Tomatoes? Really? I would give it at least, like, I want to say maybe 45 or maybe 50%, maybe even 55% I would give it. But 0? I don't understand it. So I was going to talk about this movie this was back in February when we watched it at his home theater a year ago. And I was going to talk about it, and I didn't talk about it. But after watching it again, and now owning a copy of it, I decided to take another look at it, and I'm going to talk about it now. So what is this film about? Well, you know, here's the thing. Does Staying Alive give Saturday Night Fever an injustice? No, I don't think it does. Is it as good as Fever? No, absolutely not. Is it as bad as they're making it out to be? I don't think so. I don't think so. Because, okay, the movie I think takes place in real time. I mean, like, Fever was 77, this was 83. Staying Alive was 1983. So, the film centers on Tony Manero, who is John Travolta. He's moved out of Brooklyn, okay, and he lives in Manhattan, and he's got a couple different jobs, and he's trying to make it big as a dancer, just like he always wanted to in Fever. And he's kind of making his dream a reality in a way, a little bit. You know, he's working hard. He teaches at a dance studio, just like he kind of did before. He's got a job as a busboy, I think, in a club. And he's got this friend Jackie who it's kind of like on again, off again. And there's this woman that comes in that he likes the way she dances because he looks at her from afar and he likes the way she dances. Again, Fever. This happened in Fever. This is how he met Stephanie. He liked the way she danced and he wanted to meet with her. And he meets with this woman, and it turns out that they start getting along okay, but then it turns out, well, no, it's not like that at all. And the woman that he encounters with, I think her name's Laura, she is very manipulative, and she's always trying to put Tony down, because that was one of the big themes with Fever. Tony was always doubting himself that he wasn't as good as he really is. And that theme is portrayed in Staying Alive, and it's done quite well, actually. Because I've always said, you know, the three things that made Fever really, really good, in my opinion, are John Travolta's acting, his character is Tony Manero, the Bee Gees songs, hands down, and the story arc. How Tony comes from here to here at the end of the movie. And those three things are in Staying Alive. Yes, they are. But I feel they're not well paced. You know what I'm saying? It's like watch this movie again. There are certain scenes, and again, it's not a bad film. I think it's good. Not as good as Fever, but it just feels like, I always feel like one more rewrite could have made this film a little bit better. Like, I feel some of the scenes could be paced out just a little bit more, just a little bit, and it would have been just a little better. I think the reason why this might have gotten 0% on Rotten Tomatoes is because if you look at Fever and if you look at... First of all, these films are completely opposite when it comes to music choices. And I think it's because when Fever... when Fever came out, disco was going out, okay, right when Fever came out. So by the time Staying Alive came out, disco had already been done, and now you hear all these songs that, again, it's very 80s, a lot of these songs. In fact, one of the things I didn't know, first of all, the Italian Stallion directed this, Sylvester Stallone. Rocky Balboa himself directed this. And he's not that bad a director, actually. I mean, like, some of the acting is, it's not the best, I would say, but you should see these choreography numbers. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's really good. It kind of reminded me of An American in Paris a little bit. Remember when I said the last 17 minutes of the film is one big dance number? Well, Staying Alive is the exact same thing. Only in Staying Alive, the last 15 minutes of the movie, it's relevant to the plot because that dance number, that dance musical that they've been doing, they're doing a show for Broadway. They've been building this up the whole time. And Tony is trying to get rid of his doubts and become the best that he can be. And this woman keeps putting him down. Now, this sounds like stuff we've all seen before in movies, but it's done in a way that I feel, again, not well paced, but interesting. It's a good story arc because he had this story arc in the first one. And now it's like he's, you know, he's growing up a little bit. He's maturing. Again, this movie's rated PG. You know, Fever was rated R. I mean, there's no cursing or cussing or drugs or sex or nudity, none of that. I mean, there's like a sex scene, but it's like, you don't see it. Again, because it's PG. But, and he says that in the film. He's like, you know, I left Brooklyn to move to Manhattan. I don't curse. I don't swear. I don't do any of that. You know, the complete opposite from the way he was in Fever. But, you know, like, okay, when you get past, in Saturday Night Fever, when you get past all the drugs, alcohol, cursing, the F word every other sentence, the rape scene, yeah, there's a rape scene in that movie, and all the nudity and all that, when you get past all that, Fever's actually a really, really, really good film. It's really well done. It's one of those good character studies, I think, you know, just the way Tony comes from the beginning of the movie to the end of the movie. And again, it's kind of done okay here. Not as well as in Fever, but it's done well here. Okay, I should say. Not well, but okay. But still, to get 0%... What? Like, I didn't think it was that. I can think of at least 20 or 30 films that should have deserved 0% that I would never recommend before I would get to this. I mean, I would totally recommend this. I thought it was good. I thought it was a good movie. I enjoyed it. These Bee Gees... Guys, when I saw this movie last year at my friend's house for the first time, when he told me the Bee Gees did songs for this, guys... Saturday Night Fever made me into a Bee Gees fan when I was a kid, back when I was 12, 13. I never heard these songs before. I never heard these songs. There's a scene when he's on a date, I guess, with Laura, and they play this song. You go and take a stranger's love instead. Over you is where I should be. I could be loving you too much. This is a really good song. I never heard of this song before. I guess because Staying Alive flopped, I think. I don't think it did well at the box office. I don't think it did. So I guess the songs just never got noticed because they did do a handful of songs for this film, just like they did with Fever. But everyone remembers the songs from Fever. They don't remember these songs. But again, the songs were good. And Frank Stallone, I think his name is, Sylvester Stallone's brother. He has a couple scenes in the film, actually. He's responsible for writing and performing most of the new songs in the movie, and I think those songs are great. The soundtrack for this movie is really good. It's really good. If anything, I think the soundtrack's better than the film. But the film itself is okay. But the soundtrack was really good. I can see myself buying the soundtrack for this movie. I usually don't buy soundtracks for films, but this one, absolutely. a nice little callback to the first film, because it was just drenched in disco, the first one. And there's a lot of nods to the first one in Staying Alive. You know, he's got the white suit back on. He takes a stroll when he's walking over to his mother's house, and he passes the 2001 Odyssey, where all the dancing was in the first one. So, you know, it's nice little callbacks to the first one. And, of course, the ending ends with the song Staying Alive, and he's strutting, and they play the Bee Gees music. I mean, it's great, you know? And especially to watch this movie now, Staying Alive now. You know, because when I grew up with Fever, I've been watching Fever since I was a kid, and I just saw this recently. So it's like these films were stretched really far, because it brought back nostalgia for me watching this, because I grew up with Fever, you know, so it was interesting for me watching it. And again, I never felt that I never felt that John Travolta was playing a character. Like, I see Tony Manero in this. I don't see John Travolta playing a character. You know, it's not like Beverly Hills Cop 3, where you don't see Axel Foley, you just see Eddie Murphy playing a character. No, I see Tony Manero in this. I do. And again, that's well done here. The Bee Gees songs are good here, as well as some of the other songs. And the story arc with what Tony's going through, how to get from here to here, it's done okay. Not as well as in Fever, but it's done well. It's done okay here. So that's all I gotta say for Staying Alive. I recommend this movie. I like it. I like a lot of the dance sequences. I like the choreography and the big Broadway show that they do at the end. And it's just a good movie. It's got great music in it. It's a nice little callback to Saturday Night Fever. I think Saturday Night Fever is obviously the better movie. But the sequel, Staying Alive, it's good. It's really good. It's a good movie. Highly recommend it. If you guys are under the age of 10, you cannot watch Saturday Night Fever. No, you can't. But this one you probably could. It's rated PG. So yeah. Those are my thoughts on Staying Alive. Love Saturday Night Fever. Like this movie quite a bit. And I will see you guys in the next review. Take care.